Hey, Milky here, back again with another deck highlight video for MarvelSNAP. And today we have Agatha, or an AFK Agatha deck. Now, Agatha is a brand new card for me. I only just pulled her from the collection track. Agatha is a deck that I've been wanting to try out for the longest time. The AFK mechanic and how you build around that is something that's super interesting and I think provides a little bit of diversity and variety in the game for sure as well. So today's deck is actually based off a deck that I found on MarvelSNAP fan. It was submitted by Willow Snapping, and he's an awesome kind of theory crafter, content creator who comes up with lots of interesting ideas for decks. Feel free to check that out on there. I will link this Agatha deck in the comments below, so feel free to jump over there and check out his decks and what he's putting up on MarvelSNAP fan. I have had to tech in some of my own cards because I don't have a full collection, especially from Pool 3. So I have had to tech in some cards that I think can work well in the deck and do similar things, not exactly the same as the original deck, but do similar things and can kind of work to my advantage in different ways. With all that being said, let's now jump into the deck breakdown. First up we have Quicksilver, and Quicksilver is primarily in the deck to have something consistent to play on turn 1. Agatha, the way Agatha's mechanic works is she kind of just plays randomly whatever she can at any point in time for the most part, and on turn 1 we want to give her a consistent play to also free up hand space but to have something that's going to be on the board early on. Okay, next up we have Okoye, and Okoye is a card that I have teched into the deck. I found Okoye is really strong if you can play her early on, and that's the hope of what we're trying to do here, is that Agatha plays Quicksilver on turn 1, and then on turn 2, ideally we'd have Okoye in hand, and we're playing that on the board and getting a really good buff for the rest of the game for the remainder of our deck as well. So next up we have Wave, and Wave is a key card in this deck. Agatha, as soon as she is able to, will play herself on the board. So we're trying to accelerate that with Wave here, and hopefully we can get Wave down on 3, and that means Agatha is going to play herself out onto the board on turn 4, kind of randomly, but then from there we get to take over and get the benefit of having a 14 power on the board ready to go, and then we play out the rest of the game as we can ourselves. So now we have Lady Sif, and Lady Sif is really a fallback card in this deck which will allow you to discard Agatha. If Lady Sif is in your hand on turn 3, Agatha will play Lady Sif on the board and discard herself, as we don't have any other 6-drops in the deck. That means you can then take over from turn 4 and begin playing out the rest of your cards. That means you can then take over from turn 4, have the benefit of potentially having a discarded Agatha, which you might be able to bring back later on, and then be able to play out the rest of the game normally. Now we have Ghost Rider, and apart from being one of the most visually awesome cards in the game, Ghost Rider's key role is to bring back Agatha from being discarded by Lady Sif. If you are able to discard Agatha on turn 3, and then on turn 4 play Ghost Rider, you'll be bringing back 17 power to the board all in one hit. So that's a huge turn, and it can be a really a pivotal point in swinging the game in your favor. So Ghost Rider is a really a consistent card in this deck because you're pretty much only ever discarding Agatha. So it can really work in your advantage for that as well. So next up in this deck we have Shang-Chi, and Shang-Chi is a great counter to a lot of decks on the ladder at the moment. There's lots of decks out there that are running high power cards where they flood locations on the later turns, and Shang-Chi is going to be able to counter them in one turn. So a really good tech card which has really good utility across lots of the locations that you might encounter as well. Next up we have Enchantress, and Enchantress is just a great control card, especially in the meta that we're currently in. The meta that we're currently in has lots of ongoing effects which kind of stack on a single location, and if you time your Enchantress play correctly, it can be really devastating to the opponent and almost get you an instant win in many cases. So Enchantress is a great card at the moment, which has kind of seen its rise in prevalence as we see so many strong ongoing effects being played in lots of decks on the ladder. So next up, and this is a card that I have teched in, we have Jessica Jones. With the recent buff to Jessica Jones, she's become a really strong card to include in lots of decks. She doesn't really have too many conditions around her play. She does make it potentially obvious that you're not going to play into that singular location next turn, but she's a really strong card. She represents potentially up to 8 power on the board and can be a really strong turn 4 play. Now we have Rescue, and Rescue's another card that I have teched in myself into this deck. I've found Rescue to be a really strong play on turn 4. It does kind of give your opponent an indication of where you're going to play next turn for sure, but I think with other cards in the deck which represent really strong power like Jessica Jones, potentially like Ghost Rider plays, whatever it might be, Rescue can really set you up to win a location and be really strong on it. So that's why I've included her in the deck. We'll check out later and see how she goes. Following on, we have Taskmaster, and Taskmaster is a really unique card. It copies the power of the most recent card that you have played. And in this deck, if you're playing Wave on 3, then Agatha's playing herself on 4, you're able to copy Agatha's 14 power on 5, which makes it across 2 turns. You've really got 28 power, which you've placed in 2 different locations, which is a really strong play in this game and can help set you up to win the game from that point on. So the second card at 5-drop we have is Gamora, and Gamora's recent buff has made her a really strong card in my opinion. I think boosting her up to 12 power is quite significant play on the board, and she's also becomes a really good target if you can get that on reveal effect for Taskmaster on turn 6. So she's got a little bit of versatility in the deck, and I think her buffs have put her in a pretty good spot. Lastly, we have the card which the deck is based all around, which is Agatha Harkness. She's a 6-cost, 14 power card which starts in your hand and plays cards for you. And with how we've built around the deck, we really hope that we can harness the 14 power that she brings to the table, and also the early game that she does in automatically playing out cards. That's enough about the deck. Let's get into some games and see how we go. Wow. So that's an instant retreat. They do have the Iron Man. And they do have the Sandman as well, so we will go ahead and retreat and move on to the next one. And we'll retreat. Agatha might be doing the... Okay, Agatha, please stop. They played that really well. I'm just gonna get locked out here. This guy's probably thinking, what the hell am I doing? But it's not me. It's not me. Okay, so for this one we have Kippy Cakes with the awesome Cosmo avatar. And we do start with Okoye and Lady Sif in hand, so a great kind of start for us, at least hand-wise, for cards that we're able to play out early. And they start out with Squirrel Girl, who only gets a buff on the main card. We get the Peak. Okay, so the Peak's a brand new location. Where each card in your hand swaps its power and cost. So that was absolutely brutal follow-up to the Wakandan embassy, and also for our Lady Sif play. So we can only hope we draw into Wave here, which we do not. We play out Ghost Rider, which is not an ideal target, definitely not. But we might this might end up being like a full AFK game from Agatha. We'll see how she goes. Okay, so they played Bucky on Cloning Bats, which is probably going to be a really strong location for them. Agatha does play Enchantress over here, which is kind of useless. If that was a Cosmo, it would have been great, but kind of useless at the moment. Okay, so just randomly plays Enchantress in mid again. Okay, so they're looking to destroy mid, at least probably on turn 6. Agatha plays herself. I guess we just see what happens here. And wow, so the arrow play on turn... Wow, the arrow play on turn 6 doesn't quite work out as Agatha read it like a book. And we do sneak the win away in Wakandan Embassy and the Peak. So that was a fun one. Definitely completely luck based, but let's push on to the next. Okay, so for this one we have Aussie Jackal. And we do have Lady Soup in hand, which is perfect. And we go into the Dream Dimension. First location that we get. They also play out a Quicksilver. I wonder if they're playing some sort of Agatha deck as well. I guess we'll find out. We do get Wave as well for turn 3. Let's see what Agatha kind of prioritizes here. We go straight into Central Park. So she does take the Wave, which will allow us to get Agatha out on next turn and not even have to discard. Okay, so the Gambit comes through and destroys our squirrel over in Central Park, which is fine. Frees up some space over there for us as well. Agatha plays herself mid, which is decent because we've got a pretty good opportunity to sneak away mid lane. Should we be able to get... So our strong play turned into a big backfire of a play, but we are able to Shang-Chi. I think we Shang-Chi this turn actually. No, we don't Shang-Chi this turn. I think we want to Jessica Jones this turn. We can Shang-Chi next turn. Which should get us the win. I'm just thinking of other routes we could play down. There's no way we can play 2 cards this turn, which is unfortunate, but okay, let's play Shang-Chi and we'll see how this works out. So the Venom comes in, definitely wins them. The Morph comes in, hits Gamora, not enough power, and the Shang-Chi takes out the Agatha mid for the win. So really cool game. Man, they played a lot of counter cards with the Morph and the leader there, which pulled our Agatha, but ended up working out in our favor. So that was a really good one. On to the next. Okay, so for this one we have Ocha. And the first location we have up is Grand Central. So not too bad. Not too bad of a location for us. And then straight into Nidavellir. So potentially some Shang-Chi targets here later on in the game, which could be cool. We don't have Sif or Wave at the moment, so no way to actually get rid of Agatha. Triskelions just a wild ride for us for sure, especially hitting the Chavez. Oh, and there's no way for us to draw or play anything at the moment, which is pretty rough. So strategically keeping his cards below Shang-Chi zone. Interesting. So he plays out Forge on Typhoid Mary. So that's an interesting one. Agatha plays out Doc Ock, so this is turning into even more of a wild ride. And Venom eats everything and goes to 13. So we pull in a Magic, which is probably actually quite useful for us. Hulkbuster, not the best. I was hoping that location might get capped out. And then Death, so I feel that lane's probably pretty over at the moment. And they do draw into their Iron Man as well on the right. So this is a This is a bit of a rough turn. We do hit the Taskmaster, which isn't a bad pull. Agatha plays herself left. I don't know if we're going to be able to squeak this one out. We really don't have any targets for Shang-Chi mid. We can get rid of the Iron Man play here. There's nothing we can do in right lane. There's no way for us to play two cards either, so I have a feeling that Nidavellir is maybe over. I think that the Shang-Chi maybe here we can squeak it out. I don't know. He's given us lots of emotes, so let's see if we can get it with the Shang-Chi here. Okay, and somehow we do sneak it out with the Shang-Chi on the final turn. So we will hit him with the fist bump. That was a good one. I think crazy Agatha plays into Doc Ock into some just absolute madness on the final turns, but yeah, we were going after Nidavellir. We couldn't make it, but the Shang-Chi actually comes in huge. We have had Agatha actually play herself all the way out to turn 6, which was kind of crazy. Okay, let's go to the next. Okay, so for this one we have Zephyrus. And we go straight into the first location, which is Kunlun, which is cool. We have a nice turn 1 and 2, looking for Sif or Wave for turn 3, ideally. And then into Xandar. So we did pull the Sif for turn 3. So hopefully we don't get some sort of crazy location like Triskelion or Peak. Okay, so we got the Raft, which is cool. So Agatha plays Sif. We're able to potentially, well, we're able to discard Agatha this turn. Hopefully we can draw into Ghost Rider for later in the game. And then the jig is up, they know we've been playing Agatha. So we perfectly do draw into Ghost Rider. I don't have to do it now though. And I potentially think, oh, the Rift is so tasty. I might go after the Rift now. Okay, so this turn I can Jessica Jones and I'll get a card. Gives me a 4-cost card to copy here. Otherwise I can play Taskmaster and just dip out on the Raft. I don't think we're actually going to need the Raft this turn. This doesn't say play, it says bring back, so I don't think Taskmaster will copy Agatha here in this situation. So I think let's play JJ over on the left. Okay, so they get double White Tiger, which is actually pretty huge for them. We draw into Rescue, which is, it's decent. It's probably going to be our strongest turn at the moment. And then we do end up getting the Retreat. If they had an Odin there, we would have been in a bit of trouble. We'd just have to make the right calls. But I think that strong early play with Ghost Rider kind of sealed that one for us, which is cool. Alright, we'll go to the next. Okay, so for this one we have DJ to Saint. And we do get Lady Sif, which is quite nice. Triskelion is such a bunch of randomness, though. That is not ideal at all. And then the Peak, so this game's just turned even more random. we'll see how we go. We have double Quicksilver on the board. Not something I think I would ever say. And they draw into Jubilee Swarm with Angela buffed. So Agatha plays out Blade. We discard Mr. Sinister. So Agatha's causing some issues. So we are able to discard Agatha actually on this turn, which is good for us, but I think it's too late.
Wind, aid my hand.
I think it might be too late. Okay, and they do discard their Dracula, which is pretty good. It's pretty good. I think we have to Gamora, and we just see if we can come over the top of them here. So you get Morbius. We do hit, and we are in the lead there. Morbius can get a heck of a lot bigger though if they continue discarding. What's going to be their final play? We discarded a Mr. Sinister. That's not what you want to see, is it? We do have Taskmaster. Taskmaster can win us either of these. I think we go for Baxter just to try and get a bit more power in the mid, maybe. So you go for the Hellcow. Hellcow is going to bring them up to 13 in the mid, but we do end up taking the win with the Baxter building buff. So bit of a crazy game there. That was kind of wild, but I think drawing the Gamora on the Storm turn was huge for us and helped us win. And we're able to get Agatha out of our hand at a good time as well. So even with locations kind of going against us for the most part, we're able to kind of get the win out there. So great game to finish things off. Another really funny thing that happened to us in the middle of recording this video was that the new featured location, the Peak, came out. And the Peak is a brand new location which says each card in your hand swaps its power and cost. So it's almost like a mini Mr. Negative effect for all the cards in your hand. And this is absolutely awful when you're playing an Agatha deck. So we had to be pretty particular about the types of locations we played through, and we did have to retreat a lot, but we're able to squeak out some really cool wins in the end. So that's a wrap on our version of the Agatha AFK deck. Thanks again to Willow for his Agatha deck that he has on MarvelSNAP Fan. We've linked that in the comments below. A really interesting deck and a different take on the game. It provides a lot of variety in the way you can play out the deck and the way you can build around it. But we had a blast playing it and really enjoyed it for sure. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, smash that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel as we explore more MarvelSNAP content and videos. Until the next one, we'll see you then.